All right, what's going on YouTube? Welcome back to Grady's Garage. If you're new here, go ahead and like and subscribe. Today, we're going to be installing a dual battery kit on the Honda Talon. It is a 2020 for those that are new to the channel and don't know. Right now, I've got a couple different things on here that's tied into the factory system, such as like I got my audio sound bar and the tower speakers, but then I also have a light bar and, winch and other things that just tend to put a strain on the factory electrical system if you're using it all. Like say if you're listening to music or you got your light bars on and then you go to use the winch, well, that's drawing a lot of amperage from that factory battery. I got my dual battery kit from Vessel Powersports, and I'll kind of give you a little bit of a walkthrough. Vessel Powersports, they do a pretty good job of explaining the installation fairly well. As far as putting the dual battery bracket inside the Talon under the front cowling, but we're going to get into some of the wiring a little bit and show you that transfer switch with the additional gauge mount to show you what your batteries are running at. But anyways, all that being said, let's go ahead and get started. All right, so in said kit from Vessel Powersports, you're going to get, if you opt for it, you're going to get the dual battery isolator with their relay that comes with it, a couple different wires, and then you're actually going to get the voltmeter and the connector wire for that as well for your dual battery system, if you opt to order that. All right, so this is what you're working with. Let's see here. So in this bag, you got the bolts that it comes with to be able to mount the bracket, as well as a, I believe they say it's a factory Honda part, yeah. The strap for the battery, and then right here, let me set my phone down. All right, so this is the actual bracket itself. Nice little VP right there, VPS. Nice quality looking bracket, I'll tell you that. Nice coating. Everything else, you can hear it. Little side tabs keep your battery in place, and then these are the actual little hooks that the battery strap is going to connect to. I believe it sits in the Talon like this. If you're facing the machine, facing forward. Essentially, it's supposed to fit in there like this. 2 bolts here that come up through the front bulkhead, and then this one that slides in there, which they do supply you another bolt for that. Y'all mind the mess. We did just go to River Run a little while ago. Haven't had a chance to really clean underneath the with everything else. But I mean, as you can see, you might not have all of these different relays and switches, and like this is the winch controller, that sort of thing on your machine. So I am going to have to relocate some of this stuff. So it might be a little bit more process for my installation, just because I'll have to move all that stuff around and figure out where it's going to go and that sort of thing. But as far as if you don't have any of this clutter right here, this will just be a drop-in kit. Okay, so before you get started doing anything on the machine, first thing you're going to do is go to the rear of your side-by-side and disconnect the battery terminals back there in the rear. So that way, none of this stuff is energized whenever you're messing with it. Okay. All right, so back to it. For me, it's been 15, 20 minutes. For y'all, it's been a second. I got all my relays and everything and my winch control module box out of the way. These are my 2. This is going to be a common ground, and then this is your factory hot from the actual stock battery. This is the bracket installed. 10 millimeter here. These are 15 millimeter nuts and bolts. They're both the same size. I found it in Vessel's installation video. They show the bolts coming in from the top. I actually found it easier for myself, not getting a whole ratchet and a socket in there to hold it and support it, but actually sticking the bolts up through the bottom. And then with the tension of the actual battery tray that it has, it holds the bolts there in place so you can tighten those nuts. These are the instructions that come with the isolator. I'm going to put this up in the video so that way if you need them, you can pause it from here and check it out. Okay, so update. I kind of skipped ahead a little bit. I went and picked up a battery from the parts store, got it installed. This strap is a bear to get it to actually hold tension tight enough on the battery so that way it doesn't move around. I've got it set on the top notch here and the middle notch there. Just seems like it secures it a lot better. All right, so tape measure time. That's a little bit thicker up top just because of the plastic lids and stuff, but it's roughly 7.5 inches wide or long, you could say, and it fits just perfect in the and on the little tabs that are on the side to hold it in. And then lengthwise, so as you can see, roughly 4 3/4 or 4 7/8, 5 inches roughly. That's what size battery I put in here. This is technically for a lawnmower, but I mean, it's going to do what we need to do. This is the back side of the instructions from earlier, just so y'all could pause it if you need to, that sort of thing. But we're going to kind of wire it up a little bit different than what they have here. And I'll kind of explain as I go, that sort of thing. Right now, currently, I'm just trying to clean up some of this wiring mess. So, like, I've got all these relays and everything else hooked up and all that junk. I disconnected the winch controller because it had that big old mess of wires in there that I'm going to cut shorter. We'll cut them a lot shorter, try to clean up some of this. But essentially, this is your hot from your factory battery, your main power. And then this is going to be the hot that's going to go to this positive terminal on the auxiliary battery. This is your switch. Obviously, the smaller wire that is attached here is going to go to your common ground, which I already have all my grounds hooked up. They're not tight yet. Obviously, I got to still finagle some stuff and get everything going right. But yeah, it's coming along. Okay, so on the back side of the instructions, it's got a diagram here showing you how to hook everything up. Whichever, either or, it doesn't really matter. This could be your main or auxiliary, it doesn't really matter for reference in the picture. But you want to have one hot coming from your main battery to the controller or to the isolator, and then the other hot from your auxiliary battery coming to this other side of the isolator, and then they're both, as pictured, have to share a common ground. And then you can see this little side, this little wire that comes off of the side of the isolator that I showed y'all right there earlier. As far as the, As far as the voltmeter goes, I'm gonna kind of wire it up a little bit different. I'm not super worried about the voltmeter staying on all the time. It's a LED voltmeter. It's not going to draw too much. And then I usually put it on a trickle charger anyways, but essentially what you got here, so this is the relay that's pictured up on top right here, okay? Essentially what you've got is a common ground, a key on hot, okay? And then these two extra green wires would essentially be a key on ground, where you have a ground that doesn't get completed until you actually turn the key on. You'll have it going, one side of it going to the key on ground, and then you'll have the other side that goes into the back side of this voltmeter here. I'm gonna put that thing, and that's gonna be that gold prong there, okay? The other two prongs here, as pictured, right, in the diagram, you've got one that's connected to the this side of the isolator, and the other one's connected to the opposite side of the isolator. What that is, that's the two hots that indicate the voltage reading for the actual voltmeter itself, okay? So you're gonna connect you'll hook up one side to this terminal, and you'll hook up the other battery to this opposite terminal. Now, if you go to hook it up and they're showing in the wrong spot, just switch them around. If you use, let's see, so they provided a wire with it, this blue silicone coated wire, and there's two different types in there. There's a light green and a blue, roughly the same color as this. It might be a little bit lighter, but you get the idea anyways. As pictured, right, they show your green going to whichever side and that side going to, I don't think it really necessarily matters. It just depends on what you're calling your auxiliary power and what you're calling your main power, okay? And as you can see, you see it all right there. The black socket for the key on power. Essentially what that's going to do is this relay that they provide for you, it's going to make it to where this voltmeter only turns on whenever the key is on, okay? So that way it's not draining battery, blah, blah, blah. It's fine. I'm just going to hook it up. I'm going to hook it up to hook it up and be done for today. In all reality, I will probably hook this up at a later date. Okay, so I wanted to show y'all what I got going on here. This is the voltmeter. I just popped a hole with a hole saw in my dash. Just kind of sized it up to fit. To connect these, you'll need these female style connectors for the, it's a 1/4 inch prong that sticks out the back of the voltmeter. But essentially what you got is, and I've kind of finagled it a little bit from how it's supposed to be per the instructions. So right here I've got, on the far left I've got hot, middle I've got hot, and then on the right I've got the ground where it's supposed to be. But essentially that'll sit in there just like that with the nut that goes on the back side, and all will be good. And boom, there we go. Got the isolator hooked up and the voltmeter as well. This green wire right here going back that way is the ground for the actual voltmeter, so that way it lights up and has power. Here I've got the green wire currently wired to the auxiliary battery, and this blue wire wired to what would be my main battery, the factory battery. Here in a minute, I'm gonna go hook up the battery terminal to the factory battery and see what's going on. I may have to switch these around. Okay, see right here, this is what I was saying. So see how we have main voltage, but we do not have auxiliary voltage? That's because we have the wires crisscrossed and they're on the opposite terminals. So what I should be reading is 0 volts for main battery and 12.7 for the auxiliary battery. The only reason I know that is because we have the main battery disconnected at the moment. So I'm going to swap these two wires that go to the voltmeter real quick, and then we'll get back and check it. And boom, there we go. So now we got it swapped around the correct way. I did go ahead and reconnect the main battery power on the back of the side-by-side, and then we still got them hooked up over there to the auxiliary power. So now we're reading 12.9 at the main and 12.7 at the auxiliary battery. Now this is what I was talking about. So currently my ignition is off, but if you wanted to, right, you could wire into your factory ignition and then get a key on hot source and a key on ground source. Connect that relay that I showed you earlier and make it to where this is only on when the key is on. All right, so after you have everything hooked up, you're gonna wanna go ahead and start your side-by-side. What it's gonna do is, it's gonna show the gauges right when you start it. It's gonna show charging up here on this main battery. See, I'm charging at 14.3, 14.5. You want to come over here and verify on the isolator that this little blue light is on, indicating that the isolator is in fact working. And then once your main battery power starts charging, once it gets above a certain voltage, then it will transfer and make it to where your auxiliary battery is also charging. Okay, so per the instructions in the fine print, fine print down here, a note, it says it is normal for LED to remain lit when engine is turned off. First turned off. So what it says is, in order to test it, fully test it, and make it to where the LED turns off and the isolator actually switches over like it's supposed to, just for testing purposes. So I'm going to go ahead and start it. All right, now as you can see, the isolator has switched on because it's getting adequate voltage from the main battery source, sensing that it's charging. So what we're going to do, we're going to turn off the side-by-side. See how it drops back down to 13.2. We're going to come over here. See, this little blue light is still currently on, right? So to get it, turn that off and swap the batteries over to where the isolator separates them again, what you're going to do is just turn your headlights on. You do have to turn the key on. When you turn the key off, put it over here. Boom, there you go. Now it's swapped. Now it's disconnected. All right, so now that everything's done, everything's complete, we've made sure everything works. Now the last and final step, which is honestly the most important one, is you're going to want to go back and silicone grease every single connection that you made, even the ones going to the voltmeter. Anything, just trying to keep the water out the best that you possibly can, because these are going to corrode. Eventually, you're going to have relays that go bad and that sort of thing. Silicone grease is your best friend in trying to prevent that. Now, I don't exactly know how waterproof these controllers are. Hell, I might dunk it the first time and then it dies. I'm not sure. Y'all just have to stay posted for that. We'll figure it out. But just kind of show you what we got going on. Down here, this is my winch. These are my two winch terminals, positive and negative. So as you can see, they're pretty rusted and pretty all gunked up and nasty, right? Let's see if I can grab the wires right here and I'll show you. See, they're just, the wiring isn't too bad. They're still fairly clean, but that's like, these connections down here, these terminals, they had these little boots over the top of them, so you couldn't exactly see them to the naked eye. That is one thing that you've got to do. You have to do your maintenance and check every single connection. Not necessarily every single connection, but just do proper maintenance. I had neglected this connection here for the longest time, and now doing this job, I finally found it and realized, like, hey, this is on its way out and needs to be addressed. So I'm definitely going to wire brush some of that and then silicone grease all of those connections right there. And I still have to hook up the winch to the actual the new battery itself up here. Except the original installer left this whole bunch of excess of wire all rolled up, which with nothing else right here, it was fine. It wasn't really in the way. But now that we got the battery here and everything else, it's a jumbled up mess. So I'm actually going to work on that tomorrow probably, and actually cut those to proper length. I did relocate the winch controller. If you can see it, I've got it back there in the back behind the actual battery tray. It's secure. I mean, it's not going to go nowhere. The tricky part is going to be seeing how well I can get the actual cables to the terminal itself, but we'll figure that out once we get over to it. All right, yeah, that's a wrap on the Vessel Powersports dual battery kit for the Honda Talon. Now, it's going to be the same for the Talon R or the Talon X. The only it might differ for certain years as far as the factory winch power location and that sort of thing. I'm not too certain. That's something that I'd have to look into. But hope I helped y'all out in figuring out how to install this thing. I know I learned a couple things in making this video. Anyways, I'm going to finish buttoning up this thing and get it all looking nice and pretty again. And we'll catch you guys on the next one.